everyone, welcome back. In the last session, we discussed about Unit 11 SAP HANA proxies, like how to access HANA specific artifacts in ABAP, that is bottom-up approach. So if you have any HANA view and if you wanted to create a wrapper and you want to expose them as in ABAP, so you can expose them using external views like a wrapper. If you have um, any if you have any database browsers like HANA database browser, if you wanted to expose them in ABAP, then you will create a wrapper called stored browsers proxies, database browser proxies. These two are HANA database specific. So you need to have HANA as a primary database, and you can access them if you have HANA as a primary database. These two are two new ABAP dictionaries which can be accessed in ADT. So in this session, we'll be discussing debugging and ADT, debugging, how you debug in ADT. There is a separate perspective called ABAP debug perspective in ABAP. So ADT, mainly in ADT, we have this, we know how to debug them in ABAP, as soon as when you click on a file, the debugger will open, there will be several desktop like desktop 1, 2, 3, and then in the desktops, you will be debugging. This is normal traditional way how you debug using ABAP system, but now we will be seeing how you debug in ADT. So if you have any report program, if you have any AMDB method, if you have any stored procedure which is consumed in AMDB. So how you debug them in ADT? Now we will see it in the system. So I have a YouTube link, so where which I will be showing how you debug, uh, how to debug in ADT. So I will take AMDB as an example to debug and show you. So I will show you here how to debug ABAP database browser. So I'll just open debugging. So I'll just start from, so it's how to debug ABAP manage the database process as ABAP. So here AMDB's debugation, how to activate and deactivate the AMDB debugger, how to create and manage AMDB breakpoints. So we'll be showing you here. So here in this session, in this unit, if you see here, activate and deactivate the AMDB debugger, how to create and manage AMDB, and the step through AMDB process, inspect variables. So this is possible only from SAP NetWeaver 7.5 and HANA. This is the technical requirement which you have. So traditional debugging and AMDB debugging. So this is possible only with technical requirements of AMDB 7.5, and here will I will show you how to debug. So ABAP DMB is using ADT. So here I have a AMDB processor. So this AMDB processor, if you see this AMDB processor, so this is in the some AMDB. So this processor was interface with the public section. You can see this is implemented with AMDB interface with some code. So AMDB implementation you can see here. So first I'm showing you how the code look like. So first this is AMDB method. So in this method, I have interface which is implemented. So here I have two methods. So one is normal ABAP method. So other one is AMDB method. Third one also AMDB. Here I have uh, implementation of my ABAP method. ABAP method, okay? AMDB method. ABAP and AMDB methods. So now you see here I have in this ABAP method we have two AMDB methods calling each other from bottom to top. Suppose if you see here in this AMDB get top records, what I'm doing was, if you see AMDB get top records importing and exporting. In the normal method, I'm just calling AMDB get top records by that. So this method, in normal ABAP method, I'm calling this AMDB get top records. So I'm just using importing and exporting variables. So from normal ABAP method, we can call AMDB method as well. So I'm just calling this AMDB method. So here in this AMDB method, if you see, I'm just getting that number of records. So I'm calling another from the current AMDB method, I can call another AMDB method. So you have to keep in mind this: from the AMDB method, you cannot call ABAP method, but from a normal ABAP method, you can call AMDB method. So note this point. So from normal ABAP method, you can call AMDB method. From ABAP, from AMDB method, you can call another AMDB method, but you cannot call ABAP method as well. So that is the condition here. So we have we have one ABAP method and two AMDB methods calling each other from top to bottom. So from here I'm calling this. From here I'm calling. So I'm calling get number of records. Okay. So this will go to here top records, and then top records will fetch the get number of records. So this is the flow of my program. So we will start the demo by launching the ABAP debugger. So how we will start the debugging was, so in the right you can any point of the line you can keep any breakpoint. So I kept breakpoint at some breakpoints. I can keep any breakpoint. So and I kept one breakpoint and I'm just running the application. So what I'm doing was I'm going to report. So in the report I can call this AMDB, right? So what I'm doing was I just kept a breakpoint at a line 30, and end method also I kept a breakpoint. So two breakpoints I kept. As soon as when I kept two breakpoints, you can see in the debug breakpoints tab I got two breakpoints saying that it is present at 30 and 31 line. Now I'll go to ABAP program. So this is my ABAP program. What I'm doing here was I'm just executing my normal AMDB. So I'm creating an object for this. So, and I'm just calling this ABAP method. So as soon as when I click on, when I run, how to run. So how to run was, so run as. So there is a execute button. So there is a execute button here. So if you see, this is an execute button here. So there is execute button where you will be able to execute the debugging process. So here you can see there is execute button. So you can run as ABAP application F8. You can do F8 as well. So as soon as when you click on F8, so it stops. So ABAP debugger stops at this position. So it stopped at 30 line. So and you can run the it. So now we also started AMDB debugger maintaining instance by creating AMDB breakpoint. So now we'll keep breakpoint at 30. So how you run was F8. So I'm just keeping breakpoint at AMDB method. So I can keep now another breakpoint as well. So I can keep one breakpoint at one more AMDB method. So two or three breakpoints at another AMDB method. So I kept two breakpoints and one. So one at here, one at here, one at here. So you see, I'm currently in a web perspective. Now, when I run the application, it will open the debug perspective for me. So now I'll resume. So after resuming the ABAP debugger, so you can resume as well. So when you resume the ABAP debugging, so you can resume as well. So when you resume your ABAP debugging, you will be able to. Uh, so now AMDB breakpoint, and then so breakpoint in ABAP perspective, I'm just keeping two or three breakpoints. So now after keeping the breakpoints, so I can resume it. So I can resume it. As soon as when I resume it, so it will ask for the generated procedure on the database layer will be called. So if you see, it is called at the AMDB procedure now. So this procedure has now, so it is called at get number of records. So the flow was moved to get number of records, call get number of records. So ABAP debugger switches its state to stepping during the procedure processing. It does not know whether the procedure is debugged or not. Okay, so ABAP debugger switches to procedure processing now. So now if you see, you can see here it is moved to uh, stepping inside to DB procedure. We have to use resume F8 or step over F6. So if you wanted to go inside, what you need to do was you need to do F6 or F8. So step over, we can see step over was F6. As soon as when we click on F6, step by step record, we can see. Let's inspect some variable. We can inspect some variable as well. So suppose if you wanted to inspect some variable like e top records here, okay, e top records. So double click on that. So when you double click on that, you will be able to check the ETOP record. So we see, double click on that, we can see what are the records present here. So you can do you can use a quick filter as well. So you can do some plain type. You can do a quick filter based on some plain type. So you can do some like, you can do like, or you can do some filters on your data present on it. We will be able to do that. So you can do a quick switch as well. Like I want only from 2016 flight date starting at 2016. I can do that. So maximum number of rows also I can refresh it. So there is a refresh button at the here as well. So as soon as when you refresh, you will be able to debug as well. The corresponding step over gives you next step. So performing a step the content, it automatically refreshed, short down and filtered. Now I click on F6 now. So 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 filtered, and then it's going to end to the seats. If you see, this is filtered. So now after this, if I wanted to, if I go back now, so count, if you see, if you wanted to see, wanted to just move the cursor onto the record count, you will get the how much value that record count has. And even in the top records also, it's the same. On resume again to F8, so it will go to the next breakpoint. So it will leave the database runtime environment, it returns to the application server again. So that means that it will, from the HANA, it will come to ABAP as well. So it is resuming now. So breakpoint was back to ABAP now. ABAP debugging took control over again. So now it will, so we see it came to ABAP method. Terminated because we left the top level AMDB. So we came from back to ABAP. So that's why it is, when we done a step over, that's why it came back. So we wanted to go here as well, the down debugging as well. Suppose if we wanted to go to third class as well. So how you go was, you can have a debugging point now. So we resume one more time in order to complete the program. So I resumed the debugging one more time. So when I resumed the debugging now, it will go to, so if you see above debugger, so terminate. So you can terminate the debugging at any point of time and implicitly stop it at ID. So if you see, besides we can also have manual start and stop of debugging instance. So when you right click here, you will be able to terminate the debugging, or you can stop or start the debugging step over you can do. So MMD debugger is implicitly started on breakpoint creation and implicitly stopped at the ID close or after a 10-minute ideal time. So you need to wait a 10-minute ideal time to close it. Besides this, we can also have manually start and stop the debugging. So you need to terminate the debugging, you double click on it and stop there. So when you debug it, you'll have different perspectives here. This is debug perspective. You see, there is, you are at the debug perspective. So I'm just opening again. So so you can terminate as well. So you can, if you wanted to release, suppose terminate the ABAP debugger, suppose you can double click to toggle. So double click, the color of the breakpoint also shows the activation state: green active, gray inactive. So green will be active, gray will be inactive. The color of the breakpoint gives you correct status. So I'm activating the ABAP debugger here. So right click on the breakpoint and we can have a ABAP. So as soon as when you right click on the debugger, you can see so how to, so if you want to activate the debugger, select the debugger, select the breakpoint, click on the right. So can also be used independent from the, we remove all the breakpoints except one. So because we need to go to the next uh, MDB method, I'm just keeping only one breakpoint. So I'm running the application again. So as soon as when you run the application again, it will go to the next method now, because we didn't keep any breakpoints in this AMDB. We kept only breakpoint at this AMDB. So that's why. So it will go to the, it has gone through the next AMDB method to fetch the records. So this is how, so if we see, this is the, so in a class we have two procedures. So AMDB get number of records is one procedure, AMDB get top records is the other procedure. So this is how you debug your AMDBs. For please refer to SEN. So it's that's it's SAP community network where you will have many things about debugging and everything. So this is how you debug your AMDVs. So debugging in ABAP development tools. So I have attached a YouTube video. This is standard. So actually, you should have ABAP user executing the ABAP application needs actually some authorizations in the ABAP level. So authorization to execute the application and the debug the ABAP level if the ABAP code is also used to step through. Suppose actually when you debug any ABAP application, you should have authorizations of ABAP developer authorizations and debugger authorizations to debug anything. So if without that authorizations, you will be not able to debug it. So an SAP HANA user should have HANA debug authorization. So, and ABAP user should have ABAP developer authorization to debug both HANA and specific and ABAP specific code. So, so to prepare the debugging session, actually, you should have these authorizations. Without these authorizations, you will be not able to create, execute any debugger. So these things you will be doing it in external session debugging in SAP HANA. So, so these are the steps. So to begin with debugging, we'll start the ABAP application using ABAP user and enter as a application user in debugging configuration. So SAP HANA Studio debug perspective, the code of the database procedure is shown and execution waits for the first breakpoint actually. So there is a separate perspective called debug perspective to debug. So there will be resume execution. The database procedure debugger does not support stepping through. So that means FI is not supported to the code, like only F6 is supported. So and F8 is supported and resuming the debugging was supported, but there is no step in. So F5 was not supported. You can only resume the execution as well. So so this is how you debug your ABAP development tools. So there is a link already provided. So where you will be able to check how to debug ADT, ABAP development tools. Not only ADT, if you have any report written in SE38 and you wanted to debug them, so those also you will be able to debug them using um, uh, debug perspective. So this is how you debug in ADT. So thanks.